Continuing our conversation here on NewsTalk on News Channel 8 with Prince George's County Executive Rushern Baker. Our topic this time, and it's a pleasure to have him here on this, the final day of the Maryland Legislature's 2013 session. It's been a historic session on several fronts, not least of which our topic today, the new power the Prince George's County Executive has when it comes to education in the county, and specifically who will appoint the new CEO. They're not going to call it superintendent anymore, call it CEO. Right. And the executive also wins power to appoint the chair and vice chair of the Board of Education. Phone lines open as we discuss this important topic with the executive and with you. If you'd like to join us and you're watching live in the 10 a.m. hour, be part of our conversation by calling the number on your screen, 703-387-1020. We look forward to your calls. I know many of you have thoughts. Ask you to keep your thoughts concise, but do bring them. We'd like to hear your input. We'd like to incorporate your input, and we'll go to the phones as your questions and comments come in. Do you feel any need to mend fences, rebuild relationships with people who might have been caught off guard by your proposal, thought it was too much for the county to sort of swallow in a short period of time, who were offended that maybe there was an implicit criticism of the status quo behind your proposal? How do you approach that important aspect of this going forward?
Well, certainly there are groups that I want to make sure we reach out to. The groups we didn't have time to really just go through every detail of the bill before submitting it. Certainly the conversation around Prince George's County and the school governance structure is something that's been going on for a long time. Certainly people understood that I was not pleased with the status quo, and I thought we could move in a more urgent manner. That's one of the reasons that, you know, I went to visit schools once a week during the time as county executive. It gave me a chance to actually talk to principals, teachers, and parents. They're really the ones who, you know, we want to engage in this process, because that's the real reason that I decided that we needed to do this, to give them a greater voice in what's going on in our school system. You know, we've got some great principals out there, some great teachers, and some parents who are really involved. And so as, you know, as a parent myself, I want to see how we can really use the tools that we have in the county to move the system forward. But certainly I want to move out, reach out to the unions, to the teachers, and to our parents. That's going to be a big part of how we engage parents. And let me just say this: we want to reach out to those parents who currently don't have their children in Prince George's public school system, or who withdrew their children from Prince George's public school system. We want to know why they did it, what are they looking for, because that's going to help us pick the right person.
What other takeaways came to you, or did you have? Given, I mean, you're a parent, you know the schools, yeah, but you've also popped into many schools, yeah, basically since your first day as executive. In terms of each child reaching their potential, absorbing the material, laying the foundation for a successful career, finding a career, you know, going through the schools and coming up with some sense of, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I've got a lot of options, and I'm going to pick this one, at least for now. What other sort of takeaways, in terms of what's working and what's not, did you leave with? Well,
you know, what I left with was, in each school was different. You know, depending on what part of the county you're in, the school was different, and depending on the principal, which is the leader of the school, would determine how the school, how it was working. But what I was struck with was how principals with the school-based budget were making decisions on who to bring into their classroom, whether to hire a reading specialist, a math specialist, language specialist, and how they were using some of those resources to make their students perform better that were not about the classroom. I'll give you an example, and I use this throughout. We were in a school in the northern part of the county where the principal actually used resources to teach parents who speak English as a second language English, so they could better help their students with their homework, but also so they wouldn't be taking their children out of that elementary school and using them for a tutor, you know, using them for a translator and any other. That's one area where the county could actually step in and help with that process, so she can then use her resources to buy, you know, to hire another math teacher, hire another resource specialist.
So financial flexibility at the campus level, you saw paying dividends.
I saw it paying dividends. I also saw, you know, how some schools were using parents' resource officers to really engage the community with, you know, with their schools. So, you know, we certainly want to look at that. Smaller classrooms. You know, there were times when teachers, you know, said, hey, if I could just have one student less in this grade, you know, 3rd grade, 6th grade, it will help out a lot. Those are things we want to look at. And then how do we provide, you know, innovative programs throughout Prince George's County that will attract students to come in?
Somebody we both know suggested that you might have done this a year from now.
Yeah.
You're up for re-election next year. Your name will be on the ballot. There will be a campaign, and you could have gone out in the view of this person who knows politics well, and said, "Listen, here's here's what I want to do in a 2nd term. That way, if you win, you've got a mandate." This felt a little cramped and a little rushed to some people. Did you think about doing it next year and blending it in, and then being able to say, well, of course I'm going to try to seize this power. The voters, this was part of the campaign, I won, and this is now has kind of legitimacy of the electorate.
Yeah. Well, certainly if you talk to any of my senior advisors, that's exactly what we should have done. We should have waited to next year. But 2 things, you know, caused me to put the bill in now. One is we're picking a new superintendent. And the one thing, the takeaway I had from the exit interview with Dr. Hype was the fact that he reminded me that he came into Prince George's County under one governance structure and he left under another. He came in under, and he and Dr. Daisy, under the appointed school board. In the middle of his term, that's when they, you know, his tenure here, they changed it to the elected school board. So the governance structure changed. So to me, if we were going to make changes, it was unfair to the person coming in to change it in the middle of their term. So that's one. The other was just what you said. What I was advised to do was to wait, get reelected, and then to do that. I think that's unfair. I think the voters should have the chance to see whether, in fact, I can do well with improving school system. If not, they should have the opportunity to pick someone else. So it would have been unfair to the voters to do that, in my opinion.
We're going to go to the phones in a moment. Sharon Morton, our friend from the county, longtime civic activist, will kick things off. So Sharon, remain on the line. We'll take your call first. Lines open for others who may wish to join us at our number 703-387-1020. We'll go a couple minutes long if we need to get all the calls in, but we do have open lines now if you have thoughts about this topic and wish to join our conversation. 703-387-1020, the number. In putting this proposal forward now, was part of your audience the private sector? Was it the General Services Administration, which will soon decide where to put the new FBI headquarters? We know, and I think you've been honest, others have been honest about this, the county has underperformed a little bit in terms of getting private sector and good government jobs to the county because of a lingering sense that managers, CEOs, agency heads are going to be reluctant to take their families to their people, and by extension their families, to a county where the school system is uneven.
Right. Certainly business is an important factor, and one of the things we want to grow in Prince George's County. Education has a paramount role in that. But they weren't the driving force for me. It was actually the children in the classroom and parents. You know, our children can't wait one more day to have their education improved. And to me, to know that we needed to make change and to wait was unfair to those parents. So that was a driving force for putting it in now. To the phones, and as promised, our longtime friend, you see her at the end of the year on the year-end edition of NewsTalk, Sharon Morton. Go right ahead, Sharon, you're on the air. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, County Executive Baker.
Hi, Sharon.
I, you know, have children that used to attend Prince George's County Public Schools. I served as PTA president for many years, and I'm one of those parents who had to withdraw my children from the county school system. So I am very much in support of this bill. I have to say, and actually I supported the original bill, Rushern, but I certainly support this bill. I do, in fact, think that the school CEO should come under the authority of the county executive. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement in Prince George's County schools, so you certainly have my support with regard to this bill.
Sharon, thanks very much. We'll go back to the phones in a moment. David and Clinton, stand by. We'll take your call. You're on line 3, and we will take the segment long in order to incorporate your comments. Long term, does the county need to think about resources? Like it or not, you're in an upscale neighborhood. Right. People are going to look at Howard and compare you. People are going to look at Montgomery and compare you. They're going to look at Fairfax and compare you. And people have some level of mobility. And I mean, I know my parents, my family moved where it did because my parents identified a school system they liked a lot, and that's where I grew up. You have trim property cap that's been in place a long time. If the county wants a Lexus and not just a lovely Kia, are you going to have to think about resources in the classroom at some point?
No, we're certainly going to have to think about resources in the classroom, but we're also going to have to think about how we make sure we're using every dollar. Remember, we give $1.7 billion to our school system. We have to make sure that every dollar that has a direct impact on classroom, so whether it's raises for teachers and principals, whether it's making sure that we have quality bus drivers and they have the type of things that keep them there, all aspect of education, we need to make sure those dollars are going directly there and not doing other things that could be done with the other part of the government, like the transportation procurement and things of that nature. So that's the first thing we have to do, but we certainly are going to have to put the resources into the classroom.
I promised David he could join the conversation. David, you may get the last word. Go right ahead, sir. You're on the air.
Okay, good morning, gentlemen.
Hi.
Good morning.
I recently moved here from Montgomery County, and there were, looking for a school system for my young children. And one of as I was doing tours of school, there was problems with the class conditions, as far as like structure. Some of the schools were totally outdated, which kind of turned me off a little bit. And after doing more homework with because they were previously in Montgomery schools, which were pretty good, and so I had to supplement it. So what will be done about the conditions of the classrooms as far as structure-wise?
Thank you, David. Thank you for that question, because that exactly is where you can bring the rest of the government in. The actual physical structure of the classroom, renovation, that's something we can combine with what we're already doing in the government to make sure we move those along. IT and things of that nature. So yeah, we'll be bringing in to make sure that it's not only aesthetically pleasing, but the academics and the quality is there.
There's the old adage, be careful what you wish for. You might get it. Do you ever, can a county executive be a magnet for this type of thing? And I don't dismiss it, I embrace it. But you've got a full plate. And I can just feel the entreaties and the issues, complaints, if you want to call them that. Yes. I can feel all that coming your way as we move into this new world.
Thank you, Bruce. I feel them coming my way too. And it's exactly why I ran for the office. There's no more important issue in Prince George's County than our K-12 education system. We turn that around, and Prince George's County takes off in ways that we've never seen before.
The County Executive of Prince George's joining us here on the final day of a historic legislative session in Annapolis. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Really great having you with us.
Thank you, Bruce.
We'll step aside here, get you caught up on the headlines and the forecast, and much more of the program after this.